Good afternoon and welcome to this special customer webinar. I'm Aaron Gillette, Marketing Director at TownNews. Today, Bridget Sibthorp-Moecker, Director of Audience, and Phil Pracht, Regional Sales Manager for TownNews, will show you how upgrading from Subscription Pro to Audience Plus can help you supercharge digital audience revenue with a modern, flexible metering system. Traditional paywalls and meters are blunt instruments. With Audience Plus, you can configure your paywall to deliver real ROI. And make sure to stick around all the way to the end to learn about a limited time offer that makes upgrading your paywall an absolute no-brainer. If you have a question, please feel free to enter it into the Q&A box and we'll answer it at the end of the presentation. Take it away, Bridget.
Thank you, Aaron. Phil and I are super excited to be here today. Really appreciate you guys joining. Before I get into the presentation, I just wanted to say a little bit about my role here at TownNews. As Director of Audience, I'm the product manager for our paywall software. But more importantly than that, is my role is to make you money. My role here at TownNews is to help our partners be successful in growing reader revenue. We think Audience Plus is a really big part of that, so that's why we want to focus on that today. So we're going to talk a little bit about how the environment in the world has changed in this shift to digital. We're going to talk about the kinds of things that partners need to be successful in today's world. And then finally, we're going to talk about the Audience Plus product and how that we think that fits the bill and can help you grow revenue. So let's get into it. All right. So if we step back for a moment and consider the state of the world, kind of a state of subscription, things have changed pretty quickly, in fact. We live in an increasingly digital world. Now, this is a shift that's culturally been happening for some time. You know, websites came into the picture, then mobile, then apps, and that's sort of a shift that's been occurring. But really in the last couple of years during the pandemic, that shift has accelerated. And through that, the culture shift is not just in media, it's throughout all industries, throughout all of the world. And that's required a lot of adaptation for partners and for different companies. So, you know, as we have become used to the environments of Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, that's really changed the culture in terms of what customers expect. And at that same time, as customer expectations start to shift, there's also been, you know, this change in sort of this product and service mentality into more of a customer-centric mentality, because customers are controlling a bigger and bigger portion of the revenue. And again, that's not just specific to the media industry or newspapers. That's really a broad change that's been occurring and that's accelerated. So I want to talk about that because there are some industries, some partners, some titles that have been really, really successful at adapting to this change, and there's some that haven't. So if we think about how this has affected media specifically, of course, the giants, the New York Times, are going to be successful at adapting and growing in the digital world because they have a ton of people, they have a ton of resources. This has been harder on other industries, on other media organizations. And if you saw a recent article from the Columbia Journalism Review, it's very sobering. It's talking about how our local news situation is even worse than we think. 1,800 newspapers have closed since 2004, 100 a year. And some of that's even accelerated during the pandemic. And we know, and you guys know better than anybody, that when we lose the foothold of local journalism in a community, it has drastic effects, long-lasting effects. Government corruption goes up, government spending goes up, and our roles in the community are absolutely essential to democracy. So when we think about these consequences, it becomes even more important for not just the media industry, but for not just for newspapers, for everyone to really embrace this digital future and accelerate our digital transformation. So what that can mean, though, is that there are bright spots in this. And one that you've probably heard a lot about and done a lot of work in already is digital subscriptions. I mentioned New York Times because they have all kinds of resources and things like that. But they did write a piece about how local newspapers are really starting to find success in growing digital subscriptions as a viable source of revenue. Specifically, I call out these companies. They were mentioned in that New York Times article. And because they have such a diverse set of papers underneath these umbrellas. So Lee Enterprises remains the fastest growing digital subscription, strategic group. And they have very small papers up to, the Buffalo News and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Hearst is a little different, but Gannett also has a large number of smaller papers. And I think that's really critical to consider that, if these other organizations are really gaining traction, then perhaps this is a really viable, sustainable source of revenue for everyone, big and small. And I truly believe that. It may not be the end all be all for, all, it may not save the newspaper industry. However, this is something that we can do now. This is something that we can control and grow now to get sustainable, regular reader revenue. Digital subscriptions are something that we can work on, we can control, and we can increase. Not only starts the units, but that reader revenue that we have coming in. So I want to talk a little bit about how we can do that, because I've worked in Lee for a long time prior to coming over to TownNews. And there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of different sources of ideas to help you increase reader revenue. And if you've participated in something like the Facebook Accelerator program or a Google News initiative, they have really great tactical things that you can do, but it's really hard to, within all the noise, to find focus on what's actually going to make the most meaningful difference to my bottom line. And through a number of years of study and really looking at data and numbers, we believe there's very tactical things you can do that can have an immediate effect on your bottom line for digital subscriptions. So one of the most meaningful parts of growing reader revenue, if you're in a subscription type strategy, is a paywall. And everyone on this call knows what a paywall is, and that's something that TownNews has been in the business for a long time. However, with this cultural shift from more open kind of basic experiences to more tactical, more specific, personalized experiences that work really well on mobile, that's really sort of changed those customer expectations. So we go from, a metered paywall, which has worked well for a long time, but it's really a one-size-fits-all kind of experience. That you don't have really many levers to pull in order to increase the number of subscriptions you get, the number of conversions. Everybody's sort of cut off at the same number, and you can ratchet that number down. You can add in a registration wall, but really you're kind of limited there. You have no flexibility in being tactical about different offers to different groups. It's pretty limiting as far as the marketing that you can do on the front end. And one of the most important pieces is the payment path, what we actually expect end users to do to make that purchase. And what we used to see a lot of is these front-end systems of a circulation system that have lots and lots of fields, lots of requirements, lots of hoops to jump through. And unfortunately, that really limits the growth of a digital subscription strategy when we make it tougher for the customer. And so one of the things we've worked really hard on last year, and I'll go into this in a little detail later, is really considering that end user experience because we know that when we invest in that and make it easier, we know that sales go up. So a metered paywall, it's been around for a long time, it's worked, but it's really a golf cart. It will get you there, but we need a Mustang. We need to go faster. And that's one of the things that we want to talk about in terms of that experience, is that, with this cultural shift, end users expect easy payments. They expect to do something in a couple of taps or a couple of clicks. They expect these discount offers to sort of try out the subscription and to really test the value and the impact. And of course, they expect that anytime, anywhere experience, especially on mobile. Those mobile experiences are really important. Of course, high quality content, you guys are all over that. And Blocks comes with a number of really engaging ways to improve the article look and feel and give you a lot of interesting visuals coupled with that. And then finally, fast load times. They don't want to see a ton of extraneous information that will make it take forever to load. So all of these things are really important to user experience, but it's really hard, of course, to be able to meet each one of these things. And if we look at it, it can seem insurmountable, right, to get all of these things for that user to meet those expectations. But I think that we have some solutions that can really improve experiences and help you get there. So this is where Audience Plus comes in. Audience Plus is a different kind of paywall. It's a dynamic paywall. Now, what we mean by that is it's a set of experiences that you control. It's a set of different meters where you can mix and match different strategies. It has a really, really good front end that's really focused on conversion. But it's not a black box to where everything's powered by AI and you don't know why somebody got a paywall or why somebody didn't. Audience Plus has been around for 2 years. And Phil was very involved in the inception of this product. It came about after many conversations with publishers and like yourselves that really needed a more flexible, modern option, something that allows them to really craft a custom journey instead of just cutting everybody off at a certain number. A platform that gives partners a chance to try out different things like premium, freemium content, locking down certain articles for subscribers. A platform that gives them a really good front end to take users through that subscription experience really quickly to get the most subscriptions possible. And finally, something that's scalable. It needs to work for really small sites. It needs to work for really large sites. And it needs to be flexible in how it produces those results. So here on the screen here is a quote from Jeremy Feldman. He was from EO Media Group. And Jeremy's a great guy and one of many publishers that had a lot of success with Audience Plus. In fact, they were our beta testers for the one-page frictionless purchase. And Jeremy was somebody who had gone through Facebook Accelerator, some of these other trainings that really gave them the ability to focus on what's going to make a difference to that bottom line. And we were really impressed by their results. And basically, they have used Audience Plus and helped us to shape how these best practices that we've already put together, how they work in the real world to prove those out. So I wanted to run through, a couple of other partners to share their results with you. So this Audience Plus tech has really produced a lift in performance for our partners. And I don't want to say we just always sell really low cost offers and get them in the door. This is a long-term set of strategies and solutions. So it's not just about, the tech. It's not just about making it pretty on the front end. It is an end-to-end set of solutions that we are very proud to have put this time into, that we have proven through many different partners of different sizes of organizations, and that we continue to improve over time. So for example, the Wenatchee World in the upper left corner here, they were already on Audience Plus. They were on the original software, an early adopter, and did really, really well. But they increased their conversions even more when they got on the one-page purchase, the frictionless purchase. And of course, our goal there was we want somebody to be able to subscribe without leaving the article. So they saw, a lift when they went to Audience Plus, and then a year later, when they got on one-page purchase, they saw another lift, and we were really, really happy with that. Then Bulletin is actually one of the sites of Jeremy's in the previous slide for EO Media, and they were very particularly focused on increasing email newsletter signups. And this was part of kind of an experiment with the Facebook Accelerator in really being very tactical about growing their own leads. Because when you get those email newsletter subscribers or email registrations, you get people to come back more often. And especially for email newsletter subscribers, they're 6 to 10 times more likely to become a subscriber, a paid subscriber after that. So they did really, really well. East Central Iowa News is a smaller site, and it's what we would call an umbrella, a group site with many weeklies on one domain. And it was a brand new site, and we had worked with Woodward on other domains to put Audience Plus, and it worked so well for them that they wanted to put it on this site from launch, right from the beginning. And we were really impressed by even being a smaller site, around 13,000 unique visitors a month. They have incredible numbers and incredible conversion rates, and that's been since the beginning. Kind of hard to do that with a brand new site, but we've been really impressed by their performance. And then finally, I did mention Lee a couple of times. They have 80 some domains now, and it's a really, really diverse set of websites and publications. You have some weeklies all the way up to, again, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and Buffalo News. And the one thing that all of these sites, all of these groups have in common is Audience Plus. Now, there may be differences in the offers that they put out. There may be differences in the wording, presentation, in the overall promotion of the site. But in each of these cases, they have seen increased performance by using Audience Plus. And so we're really proud of that. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about user experience. So it's not just making things look nicer on the front end. This is a scientific proven set of solutions that gets more people in the door. And we think this is a really important part, and that's why we invested so much time and energy in the last year into improving this. So the biggest piece of this that grows your bottom line is the frictionless payment. So a user can subscribe to your publication without ever leaving the article. And that's really, really critical because our studies and others have shown that the more we reduce the effort for the end user, the higher your conversions go up. Now, of course, there's a lot that can go into conversions. If you are very, very focused on growing units, growing digital units, and you want to start by really growing your base, then all of these things we've talked about, plus really good introductory offers, will get you there. If you're really more interested in growing sustainable revenue and not so worried about those unit numbers, then you don't have to go as low on those offers. But these are all things that you can do in the marketing pieces that we've embedded into blocks. So with all of these, front-end features here, you get a marketing tool called Offer Builder that comes inside of blocks. And so you're no longer limited to just one offer for everyone on all paywalls in the whole site, because you can show different offers to different groups. Now, I think without getting into a whole lot of technical detail, we can go into that later, but it really gives you the power to customize user journeys and to really try out different things to meet your goals. Because the whole thing about this Audience Plus solution is it's not just a piece of tech, it's meant to grow with you and be flexible. And then finally, I'll just mention, we are really focused on growing first-party data. And the really most fundamental part of that is collecting and harvesting those email addresses. So having a built-in registration wall, even offering some content with a registration wall, getting those people to sign up is a really critical piece of that. And then finally, I'll just say, if you've been on our subscription pro software for a long time, you've probably seen that, to make the front end look nice, to put in special offers, you had to do a little bit of HTML. Well, coming from a marketing background myself, I felt it was really important to give you the tools to do that without having to code. And so all of the text that you see on the paywalls coming up in this graphic are completely customizable by you, even down to what it says on those red buttons. So get started, sign up now. So we felt that was really critical, and you can put as much or as little on the paywall as you want. You could have one offers, you could have two, you could have three. Again, it's very flexible to meet your needs. I want to talk really quick about another site that we worked with recently, the Pioneer. Now they're a smaller site. They're 4,000 unique visitors a month, but they started on Audience Plus and using the one-page payment system. And even a site that's that small has had incredible growth with this system. They're getting, I don't want to give away all their numbers, but they're doing really well in all of the benchmarks. Now, if we think about, I'm sure you're wondering how much this costs, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I wanted to say that these features are not out of reach. We've really considered the ROI when it comes down to this software and these set of solutions. So in most cases, if you get one or two more subscribers per month, it's going to pay for itself. And that's with considering lifetime value of a subscriber. Generally, that's the median's $137. So if you get a couple more subscribers, it's more than paid for itself. And as you could see from our information here, from our many, many successful domains, it's a lot more than that. So I don't want to get into the weeds a ton here with the features, but I did want to give you an overall picture of what Audience Plus is, what it includes, and what kind of bells and whistles come with it. So as we've talked about, the basic metering and paywall options with your standard paywall, they're included in Audience Plus. So you can do, the same fundamental things, just many, many more things. I'm sorry, I bumped my computer there. So that's your golf cart, and you can meter by section, keyword, asset type. Now, the Mustang Audience Plus has all of these additional features that, as you can see, are beautiful check marks on the right-hand side. So some of the really critical pieces are those metering and paywall options give you the chance to mix or match different configurations. And we do this by segmenting audiences. So for example, if you wanted to test out an overall meter on your site there's a cap of 3, but you want to give more articles to a registered user, kind of as a reward for giving them your email. If you wanted to lock down certain sections of your site or keep certain sections open. If you wanted to try out the elements of a freemium model where some content is locked down, subscribers only, or some is completely open, you can mix and match any of all of those things. Now, some of those choices can get overwhelming. So we've really tried to help you by coming up with a recommended setup. We have over 200 websites now running Audience Plus. And so we've been able to have the ability to see what continues to work for all of these partners. So what we do is set up a structure for you, a framework to begin with. It's our recommended setup. We get started there, and with just a little bit of input from you and validation, then you're off to the races. And that's a really, really quick method, and that's something that you can continue to add on to. So we'll, these pieces, I don't want to get, again, too much in the weeds, but in further discussion, we can go through all of the ways that you can modify your paywall. So with that user experience, we were talking about the frictionless one-page purchase, where you can purchase or log in without leaving the article. That is included in your Mustang of Audience Plus. We also include a subscribe landing page. Now, we had an older subscribe landing page with the regular paywall product. And some of the things that we heard was people wanted the ability to show a certain offer on a subscribe page or on a paywall, but maybe we don't want the whole world to see it, right? We wanted a way to show or hide certain offers. And this is built in with Audience Plus. So for your subscribe landing page, if somebody clicks the subscribe button on your site, you can choose 3 offers to be there. That can be seen, but maybe your very best offer is saved for a certain segment of people on the paywall, for example. Or you may say, I really want to grow units quickly, so I'm going to put my best offer everywhere. Again, that's all flexible and up to you. The targeting of offers and messages is one of the most critical pieces of Audience Plus. Is not everybody has to see the same paywall. Not everybody has to see the same message or offer. And that can get as simple or as complex as you're willing to go. So we have, again, a recommended setup. We look at anonymous, registered, brand lovers, loyal readers, and subscribers. And then we also look at a couple things with premium content, like let's say your e-edition, we want it always behind a hard paywall, or we want obituaries always in front of the hard paywall. These are decisions that we go over in a consultation with you. We have recommendations, and we'll get you started again, have that framework. But those are things that you can tweak based on your needs. The consultation is a big part of it too. We don't just dump some tech in your lap and say good luck. We really take the time to go through with you all of these options and to talk through what's worked for other partners, even down to in terms of pricing and messaging. The ad blocker detection and in-private browsing is really big. So we've worked on this one really hard in the last year too, because we believe when people try to get around your paywall, that's stealing. They're stealing your content. So we want to give you every opportunity to, close up the leaks in your paywall and give those people offers and specific messages. The segmentation of brand lovers and loyal readers. This one is, kind of part and parcel with the target audiences. And this is where we go a little beyond just the article consumption. We go beyond just saying, okay, they hit a certain number of articles. We say, what is their behavior like? How often are they visiting the site? Because you may have somebody that visits the site every other day. Maybe they don't always hit paywalled content. Maybe they view your homepage or your sports page, but we know that they've come back several times. That indicates a higher propensity to subscribe. So we may speak to them differently. We may get those offers out in front of them sooner. And then finally, a lot of complicated bells and whistles, but we have some really exciting, very advanced metering options in Audience Plus as part of your Mustang. So start time, refer, browser, so you could have a specific message or offer behavior on somebody coming from Facebook. You could say any content older than 30 days is going to be a hard registration wall. So those are just some of the things that you're able to layer on top of this strategy. Now, you've probably noticed that this whole time I've been talking about full Audience Plus, the Mustang. I've been comparing it to standard paywall, which is our golf cart. And I sort of ignored that column in the middle. This is what I'll call the Toyota Camry. So this is a way to get many of the features and benefits of Audience Plus, but maybe you're not ready to go the full scale. It's another option to get started and to get some of these features and benefits. But of course, if you really, really want to move fast, the Mustang's the way to go. So I want to just talk really quickly about the ways that we really believe that we can help. And then I'm going to turn it over to Phil. So because we believe, back to that idea, that culture shift that has changed, the urgency and in digital, because of the way things have changed and accelerated recently, we really believe that it's important to give you all the tools and support to grow reader revenue quickly. And so what we've done is put together these packages with an accelerated timeline in mind. We want to give you all of the options but give you that framework to really move quickly. We've also had, a lot of experience with partners that have certain questions about pricing or things like that. So we're able to provide that to you upfront and say, here's what we recommend based on the numbers, but give you that option to modify it. Secondly, we've really worked hard on aligning our teams internally because, again, we really want to move fast and help you start growing revenue tomorrow. So we've realigned our staff internally to be able to turn these around quicker and to get you going faster. And then finally, it's really important to us that the ROI is there for you and that you can move quickly. So we have some really special offers, some discounted pricing. And now I will give it over to Phil to talk about that.
Thanks, Bridget. And wow, that was a lot of information, a lot of really, really good information. So thank you so much. You set the table up for me to now talk about, of course, the pricing, which is always the toughest part, I would say. But you've given us, I think, a lot of really good information about the services. We clearly have spent a lot of time on this. There's a lot of effort, a lot of time and energy, and a lot of us working and coordinating and partnering with you all to hear your feedback on a lot of these services. We've invested a lot of time and effort to make these as great as possible for as many of our publishers as possible. Small, medium, large, you name it, weeklies, newspapers, weeklies, dailies, of course, multi-day papers. That being said, we have a tiered structure when it comes to pricing. We are encouraging you all, of course, to contact us if you have questions about this further. Myself included, I'm a regional sales manager for a lot of folks here, but you have your own dedicated regional sales manager that you can contact about any of these services that you've just that we just reviewed here. But what I want to do is kind of harken back to the previous slide, that the reason for a lot of this, even this webinar and a lot of everything we've kind of talked about today, is that we have invested a lot of time and effort also onto the implementation side. So we are really kind of trying to get these things off and running for you as possible so that you can realize real revenue very quickly. We want you to gain more units, gain more subscribers as quickly as we possibly can. So we've allocated a lot of resources on the implementation side to get you up and moving. So this is why it all comes down to, I think, kind of the impetus for this webinar is to, we're kind of time boxing it a little bit, but it is that we are allocating a lot of resources to get you launched in a month or two from the time that we can get something signed. So we're encouraging everyone, of course, to sign up quickly, because right now you can save $750 in setup fees. We're waiving all setup fees for this service through March 31st. And then come March 31st, we have prices that are going to increase. So we're also encouraging you to lock in these lower monthly rates now, sooner rather than later, because you're going to see a lot of return on investment very quickly. The $100 is going to make a big difference, I think, for some of you. But we encourage you all, of course, to contact us as quickly as you can. As you can see, the daily newspaper starts with the blocks audience, or as Bridget put it, the Toyota Camry, starting at $295, and then all the way down to the weeklies with $99 a month. I should point out that the multi-day paper newspapers are, if you publish 1, 2, or twice or 3 times a week, you would fall into that category. And then quickly you can see to the Mustang, I think it was a Mustang, right, Bridget? Yeah. So the Mustang, you have the $295 a month versus the $295 a month for the weekly newspapers below that. Again, setup fees waived through March 31st. What I want to encourage you all to do, even on this webinar now, is if you're at all interested, if it makes any sense, write in our chat, send us a note right now, your name, your publication. We'll contact you immediately after this so that we can kind of get this going if you're interested. But again, if you have any questions, I encourage you, of course, to contact your partner success manager and or regional success manager for any questions. We could do a follow-up demo, show you more examples of the small, medium, large publishers and how they've been able to successfully launch an enhanced dynamic paywall for their site. Yeah, if you don't mind, I think next slide. I mean, unless you all have questions, we have a Q&A after this. Again, I encourage you to submit your name and your publication and just kind of let us know that you're interested, and we can contact you immediately following this webinar to continue the conversation if you'd like. with that said, does anyone have any questions? Should we, Aaron, put it to the Q&A?
A couple of questions have come in. I think the first one is just sort of around how does Audience Plus work for how effective it is for a very small publication, for example, a 4,000 circulation newspaper. I think you've covered that fairly well, Bridget, but is there anything you'd like to add on that subject?
Sure. Yeah, I think that the best example is the Pioneer. Now, I was looking at monthly unique web visitors, so not so much the print circulation, but it's a very small organization, and they've just had incredible success. We have many small publishers. In fact, I would say at least half are in the smaller to medium group. We've seen return on investment at every size. And that's, in part to the tiered pricing structure. We really want to make sure that this tech is available and works well for everybody.
And Phil, a question about, is Audience Plus sold on a contract basis? And if so, what's a typical contract length?
Yeah, and much like I think a lot of the other services that we do work outside of the CMS and the software itself, we do and are adaptable to timeframes that work for you. We obviously feel strongly that it'll prove and yield successful new startups and subscribers for yourself. But if it's a question of that you can't take that much kind of like a 2-year or 3-year, we understand that completely. And we are willing to adapt if necessary. So we've done as little as 12 months for a contract with them when it comes to this service. And we would encourage, of course, it would perhaps auto-renew even after those 12 months. But we feel confidently, and I can speak for Bridget, that we would be able to make this benefit, obviously, the smallest to the largest publications for you. So much so that you would want to, I think, we are kind of pushing because of a lot of what Bridget pointed out, the differences between the Toyota and that Mustang. That Mustang is really going to squeeze the most subscribers that you could possibly get, because now we're targeting even more specifically these types of people and encouraging them to subscribe. So we would encourage either way. 12 months, yes, but 2 years is our typical contract.
Wonderful. Well, it looks like that is it for questions. We do have some requests for one of us to reach out and contact some folks on the webinar coming in. So that's excellent. If you, Bridget, is there anything else that you would like to add quickly before I go through the closing spiel here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. I'm really confident that this will help you, and really excited to get started. Excellent.
Well, for anyone who wishes to learn more or to get started, you can contact your sales rep. First of all, that would be a really quick way to get started. You can also email info@townnews.com. Or if you just want to learn more, you can visit townnews.com/audience+. And that page also has a form that you can fill out to have a salesperson contact you and get more information. Documentation is available at help.townnews.com. Support, as always, is available at 800-293-9576 and support.townnews.com. Customer community is a great place to swap ideas with other Town News customers, and that's available at community.townnews.com. And you can monitor the status of all of our services at townnews.status.io. Thank you very much, Bridget and Phil. This was excellent and very informative, and I look forward to seeing all the folks on this call grow their subscriber bases with Audience Plus. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we will talk to you again soon.